cross contour. Okay, so the cross contour, CROSS dash contour, TOURE. Okay, so the cross contour, right, is a different mark making that you are going to use to show volume. Okay, you try to use this mark to create the illusion of volume in drawings, right? Volume is how three-dimensional things are, right? And this is the way that it works, right? When you have an item that is round, right, you're going to try to use curved lines going across the item to show how round it is, right? When you have an area of that item that is flat, you're going to use straight lines to show how flat it is, right? So again, looking at the same three, I have them set up exactly the same as the first drawing that I did over here. Actually, I'm gonna try to move this somewhere where I don't smudge it. Okay. You're gonna start kind of drawing in the same way, right? So I'm gonna start again with the painting jar of Soho acrylic paints because that's the item that's closest to me. In drawing, you always want to draw from the closest item to you and then work your way backwards, okay? So the very first thing I'm gonna do, I am going to kind of create the cap, the oval of the top of the jar. Okay. Now, that oval, right, you have to be really specific with that shape because you're looking at this item from a very particular angle, and that oval is giving you the angle of your perspective from your point of view. It's not any oval, it's the shape that you see there, right? Then what you're going to do is you're going to go from one side of this shape to the other, trying to control how your hand is moving and try to give the audience that is looking at the drawing kind of the feeling that the item is round. Again, we're not worried about details right now. We are worried about trying to really look and trying to have to control what your hand is doing as it's moving down across the object, okay? Et voila, right? So now I have a very round feeling object and I can come back in here and if I need to make it wider, I can add a couple of more lines. Like the lid of the jar is a little bit wider. It creates a kind of a little bit of a dark shadow. So if I want to throw the dark shadow in there, I can do that, right? And I can kind of draw the item, really kind of defining its form, but using lines to make it feel like it's really a round object, okay? So again, this is called the cross contour. For the top of it, the lid that's flat, because remember, this is around here, but it's flat here, what I would use is straight lines, right? So like over here, this is the edge of my lid, and this part is straight, so I'm gonna try to make all these lines move in the same direction and show that the top of the lid is straight, is flat, right? And that all those lines are moving in a flat kind of way, right? Giving a little bit more information here, showing a little bit of this edge over here, you know, again. So you can see how I did that. I did that by, I didn't create an outline and I just made arbitrary lines going across, right? I controlled my hand and moved from side to side, constantly looking at what my hand is doing in the object and trying to get it as accurate as possible so that I can make sure that I get this three-dimensional form kind of drawn on the paper, okay? And again, you're learning a very specific movement with your hand. You want to try to do this the right way. Now, the next item, my little votive candle, right? So I have my paint jar and I have my little votive candle, right? So over here, I have to try to draw that oval that represents the way that I'm looking at that votive candle from this point of view that I'm looking at it, right? So here, I'm gonna come over here. It's a little shorter, it's a little narrower. I see kind of this much of here. And really that first oval is gonna kind of set up your drawing, right? it's kind of leaning a little bit because it's on an uneven surface where I'm looking at it. So it's actually kind of like at a weird angle from this one, okay? So here, that's my oval. That's the top of my votive candle. Now, I'm going to control my hand and go from side to side to side to side so that I can learn how to control how my hand is moving. So I'm looking at the votive candle. It's pretty much a straight cylinder all the way down. So I'm going to go around and around and around and around and around and looking to make sure that I'm trying to control where these lines on the side, right? And it's almost like the same shape for the letter C, right? The ends of the letter C kind of touch each other and they create like the edge of the item. So I'm overlapping them when it gets to the edge, so that I can make the little votive candle kind of, really kind of define it and come back in here and really kind of make it feel as round as I can, and then getting that right shape on there, right? And then the inside of the votive candle it doesn't have a flat top to it, it's just curving the opposite way. So here, right, I see a curve going like that. So that it's empty and that I can see that there's a curve in there. And then, and voila, I have my second item. Again, I'm comparing this size. This is a little bit taller. This is a little bit wider. It's a little bit chunkier. This one's a little bit thinner, a little bit shorter, right? And I'm comparing the sizes of things. That's called proportion, right? And it's a really important part of drawing, right? So now I'm gonna do the big bottle that I have, and just like here, the bottle hasn't changed shape. It's the same shape. I know that it starts way up here, right? Because it is way taller than this item over here, than these items over here. So I'm going to do the same thing. This, since it's taller, I don't see a lot of the oval at the top of it. It's actually very narrow because it's almost at my eye level because it's so tall, right? So I'm gonna do this and I'm going to kind of go around, and then that's gonna be the cork. And then once I get to the cork, the bottle gets wider. So that means I have to make a wider mark, and it gets a little bit fatter. And the neck of the bottle is pretty round. So I'm gonna kind of go around over here, around over here, around over here. Make the line a little bit darker for where the cork ends and where the bottle begins, right? And this kind of curves down, curves down, curves down. Again, we're using that circular motion to make that happen, right? Then the bottle kind of tapers down and starts getting wider. So the tapers down, gets wider, tapers down, get wider. If you make a mistake, you can always add more lines. That's the beauty of this. This is a very forgiving drawing style. If you make a mistake, you don't have to erase it. You just cover it with more lines, right? So this is coming down, coming down, coming down, coming down, trying to make the bottle feel round. And then I get to a point in the bottle, right, that the bottle changes shape. This bottle isn't completely round, right? If you notice, the bottle is round up here, but once I get to this shoulder, I have flat sides. It becomes almost square. It becomes like a square bottle, right? So me putting this down over here and looking at this, I have to figure out where the square begins. So this is all round. This is round, 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 round. I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to define that shape. But somewhere around here, it gets a little bit flatter and has a rounded corner and then comes back this way, right? So now it's okay, I have my rounded corner, and there's a flat side and then another rounded corner, and it comes back this way. I have a rounded corner, a flat side, another rounded corner, comes back this way. So that the surface of that flat side, rounded side, flat side, rounded side, flat side is being shown in the marks that you're making, right? So here, I'm going to continue doing this. I'm going to kind of keep on bringing it down and fixing it as I go, trying to show how the surface of the item is bending in space so that the people looking at the drawing have like an idea of how three-dimensional the item is. And there you go. Okay, so these are going to be the first 2 marks that we are learning this first week of class, right? Using the silhouette mark and using the cross contour. Again, in the silhouette mark, you discover the shape of an item, right? In the cross contour, you discover you try to communicate its volume. If it's round, if it's flat, if it's circular, if it's bulbous. You want to try to give that information. In both of these drawings, right, we don't use an outline, right? And I'm already seeing a couple little mistakes that I've done over here. I can actually make this shoulder come out a little bit more. So I'm going to add a couple of curves over here to kind of fix that. But that's okay because I am learning from my mistakes and I'm fixing them as I go. Because as my little buddy over here, Bob Ross, says, there are no mistakes. There are only happy accidents. So, that being said, this week I'm going to be demonstrating this in class, and I'm uploading this video so that you can use it to actually work on homework assignments that I want you to work on for next week. Have a wonderful day and keep on drawing.